What's up? Think International, Jeff Morris here. I'm with Dr. Sam Chan. We're at the Both And Conference here in Las Vegas, Nevada at the Church LV. How you doing, man?
Doing wonderful, thank you.
The following content is brought to you by the Church Conference, a Spirit Contemporary Pastors and Teams event hosted by the Church LV in Las Vegas, Nevada. Download exclusive free church leadership videos at thechurchconference.com/free.
So this is largely attended by leaders in all I guess stages in the church. You have senior pastors, you have young leaders, you have a lot of associate pastors, youth pastors. How do you navigate? You know, people talk a lot to senior pastors and they talk a lot to young up-and-comers, but there's that whole middle range. How do you navigate leading from the middle?
Very good question, and I think all of us are in the middle somewhere.
Right.
So just because you're a senior pastor of a church doesn't mean that you're not in the middle, because then you're part of a larger stream of other churches and other pastors and so on and so forth. So the picture in my mind is, if you can see yourself in circles and then another overlapping circle, another overlapping circle, another so you move from one circle to the other circle to the other circle. The challenge is, how do you circumnavigate that transition from one circle to the other?
Right.
I have found that it all depends on one word: trust.
Okay.
Everything you and I do is based on trust. So you asked me to do this interview, it is because I trust you. You're asking me questions because you trust me.
Right.
We've got somebody, Sean, running the camera, so we trust him. Yeah, Sean, good man, the best cameraman we know.
Ever.
and so we come to a church because we trust. So everything moves, as Stephen Covey has said, at the speed of trust.
Okay.
So the question becomes, if I'm in the middle, how do I gain trust?
Right.
How do my people I'm leading gain trust in me, and how do those people who are, so to speak, above me gain trust? Well, I gain trust by small things like showing up on time, doing what I'm assigned to do in an orderly manner. I gain trust by throwing nobody under the bus. I gain trust by, even though it's not my fault, assuming that it is my responsibility.
Right.
I gain trust by making sure that I am serving the senior pastor's vision. I also gain trust when things are not going well, then the crisis, things like how I handle that creates that trust environment. And so if you don't have trust, you can have the best leader, but you're going to get stuck in the middle or even get demoted in people's minds. So I would suggest to everybody listening is saying, so how do I gain more trust? You gain trust a little bit at a time, doing little things in an excellent manner. And you never forget that you need to know that people are watching you at all times. Okay. You may think that the CEO, the senior pastor, does not know about you. Oh, he knows who's making it happen. And sometimes they can get to you to promote you because there's somebody above you, but keep doing what you're doing faithfully, gain trust, and God's going to help you with that.
Now this probably, I'm sure, relates to the whole trust thing, but getting your voice heard in an organization in a good way, you know, for lack of a more descriptive word. You know.
Getting your voice heard, okay. People in an organization, unfortunately, this is not the good way to go, but unfortunately,
right.
If you go in there with some facts on your side, facts, that gives you credibility. So the question is, how can I gain credibility? And the credibility comes from going prepared. So if you want your voice to be heard, you just can't go in there and start shooting from the hip. People need to know that you do your homework, that you know what you're talking about. Because if once they figure out you're just making up stuff and you don't know what you're talking about, it's over. It's over. And so you've got to go in there with some facts on your side. You got to go over there saying, I was talking to so-and-so, I was reading such and such thing, I just found out about this, 5 out of 10 people do this, and then have some facts behind it. Be ready for some pushback. Okay. But that is how you get heard. Once you do that frequently enough, then you can do different things, but it starts with facts.
How, as a person in an organization, whether you're lower level, top level, mid level, how do you know when it's time to go? Time to either transition out of the church you're at, transition out of the business you're with? How do you know when it's time to go? And then how do you do so well?
That's a great question. Very few people do it well.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you know to go, there's something going to start happening in your gut.
Okay.
You know, it's that hunch. It's what Mike Robertson calls the God nudge.
Okay.
You're going to have something happening in which you'll say, can't put my finger on it.
Right.
But something is going on. And I think God gets us restless. That's his way of plowing the ground.
Yeah.
Gets us restless, like, something's happening, don't know what's going on.
Right.
And that's where you tune into that sensitivity. I think most people do not make the mistake of leaving too early. They make the mistake of hanging around too long.
Wow.
Most people leave too late.
Wow.
Now, the way I want to answer your question for how can you leave, this is going to sound so self-serving. But you did not know this, so you're not setting me up for this.
No.
In my book called, in my book called Who Moved Your Ladder, the subtitle of that book is Your Next Bold Move.
Okay.
In there, I have a section called Exit Etiquette.
Okay.
It is written on, for the reason, it answers only one question, how to leave a church.
Sure.
Okay, everybody teaches us in new member class and everything, how to come into the church.
Right.
Here are core values, here are purpose statements, here are vision statements, here are goals, this is what we do, here are staff. But nobody ever teaches you, if you ever leave this church, this is how you need to do it. And here are some questions you need to ask yourself.
Right.
So when you leave, you can leave with a pure heart and clean hands.
That's good.
So they can get that through my book, Exit Etiquette. Have good manners while you're leaving.
Right.
Leave in such a way you can always come back and be celebrated.
Where can they get that book?
They can get that book at samchand.com, CHAND.com, and we'll get it to you right away.
Okay, now one last question for him. There's, for a lot of young leaders out there, some very low ceilings in organizations. Meaning not their leadership ceiling, but just they can only go so far in an organization. What do you suggest for lead pastors out there, CEOs out there, to heighten that ceiling, maybe keep those young leaders around longer?
Okay. You know, the way I would like to illustrate that, great question. You got such good questions. Thank you. Yeah, you do. The way I would like to answer that is, if I had a helium balloon in my hand, and if I let it go, it's going to stop at the ceiling. Right? Does the helium balloon have the capacity to go higher? Yes, it does. What's holding it back is the ceiling. The helium balloon are the people who want to serve. The ceiling is us leaders.
Right.
And we always want to talk bad about those people who don't have commitment. You can't depend on them. They just don't want to do anything.
Right.
You know, and we talk about the helium balloon not going higher.
Right.
But it's being stopped by the ceiling. And so I want to suggest to every leader that your people will hug the ceiling. Okay. You know, the higher you go, people are going to hug the ceiling. So on a scale of 1 to 10, if the senior leader is a 5, people will be 3 or 4.
Wow.
You go to 6, you'll go 4 or 5.
Right.
You go to an 8, you're going to have 6 and 7s who are going to come over there. Now, there are 2 other things I want to say to that. So increase your ceiling so that people can do that. But the second thing is, if you see somebody in your organization who's got greater potential than you want to invest in yourself, the best thing you can do for that person is to call them in and say, listen, we've got some limitations here.
Wow.
Why don't I be a friend? And why don't we work on an exit strategy? I'm not trying to fire you, man.
Okay.
But what I'm saying to you is, you can go higher.
Wow.
And this may not be the setting for you.
Wow.
So why don't we look for a good setting where I can recommend you and you can be happy, because I know, man, you are a Ferrari.
Yeah.
But we just got 35 miles an hour roads around here. And you're going to get frustrated, and you're going to blow an engine, and you know your transmission is going to blow. You are meant for the open road.
Right.
So why can't I bless and release you?
That's really
And that is a real mature leader.
Selfless leader, for sure.
John the Baptist said that.
Right.
One day he said, behold the Lamb of God.
Right.
And the Bible tells us many of the disciples of John left John.
Yeah.
Start following Jesus. A mature, secure leader is never trying to keep people with him or her. They're always called to release people into the kingdom.
Incredible. Brilliant, Dr. Chan. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man.
We appreciate it.
I'm honored.
Appreciate it. Think International, the church conference. We're out.